Duckworth, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, earlier this month, a former soldier was sentenced to 45 years in prison for attempting to murder U.S. service members, for attempting to provide material support to terrorists, and illegally transmitting national defense information. In fact, Mr. Messler, the convicted gentleman, provided sensitive details about his unit, including information about its location, movements, and security, to members of the extremist organization Order of the Nine Angles, a white supremacist, neo-Nazi, and pro-jihadist group. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a RAND report dated 2021 that is entitled Reducing the Risk of Extremist Activity in the United States Military.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This report states, and I'll just briefly say this, the vast majority of military personnel and their families are not extremists, but even a small number of people engaged in extremist activities could damage the United States military's reputation, its force, its members, and the larger community. Extremist activities can also be harmful to the individuals who are radicalized and their friends and family. That said, as someone who wore the uniform for 23 years. I mean, I was just a reservist and a guardsman. Did not reach the ranks of the gentleman here or even some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. I have to say, I am offended at the implication that conducting extremist training means that our military is filled with extremists. Just as I personally am appreciative of the fact that we have sharp training, and by conducting sharp training, we're not saying that every member of the military is a harasser or a perpetrator of military sexual assault. Similarly, my entire time since I've left the military has been spent working on mental health for our troops. And by providing mental health training and resiliency training, we are not saying that the military is filled with people who are about to commit suicide. This is simply part of readiness. That said, I'm going to switch. I just want to put this in record because it's very offensive to me to very politically say that extremism in the military and training against it is saying that the military is full of extremists. The military is full of the bravest, most amazing men and women who do the best job that they can, and they need to be equipped to do their jobs, and that means that they need to be equipped with the training to recognize sexual harassment when it occurs, to recognize extremism when it occurs, to recognize signs of hidden wounds of war when it occurs, so that we can keep our units in the highest levels of readiness. Okay, I'm done with that. Last month, I led a CODEL to Japan and Indonesia, and I'm planning to going back to the region twice more in just the next few months. And in June, Senator Sullivan and I will be leading a delegation to the Shangri-La Dialogue. And Mr. Secretary, I believe you're going to be speaking there, and I look forward to hearing your remarks there. And in August, I'm planning to take a bipartisan group of my colleagues to visit the Philippines, Indonesia, and Thailand to spotlight the importance of opportunities that our nations have to partner together. Mr. Secretary, in your testimony, you highlighted the DoD's enhanced maritime security with the Philippines and exercises with Thailand. In what other ways does the department's budget request support our allies and partners in Southeast Asia, and how are you programmed to achieve integrated deterrence in this area of the Indo-Pacific?
Well, thanks, Senator, and certainly, with the PDI, Pacific Deterrence Initiative, we're asking you for some $9.1 billion to improve infrastructure in the region so that we can position our troops further forward and we can be more interoperable. Presence matters. We see a significant investment in the AUKUS agreement. Australia and the UK and the US are working together to provide the Australians a conventionally armed, nuclear-powered submarine capability. And another pillar of AUKUS calls for us to work together on key technologies like AI and hypersonics and long-range fires. And so I think that kind of thing, building interoperability, is really, really key. We're doing some of the same things with the Japanese as we work to become more interoperable with them. We're helping our partners and allies strengthen their capabilities in terms of cyber, and I think all of those things will add value. But we're seeing things in the region now that we weren't seeing 2 years ago. The Japanese doubling its defense investment, more access to the Philippines. As you know, 2 years ago, we were about to get kicked out of the Philippines. But we've moved to strengthen our relationship, and I just think that's powerful. So,
thank you. I just want to touch on the cyber piece. In fact, last year I included, actually in 2021 NDAA, I included legislation that authorized the Department of Defense to establish a pilot program to enhance cybersecurity, the resilience and the readiness of the military forces of Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia. General Milley, next month I will introduce legislation to expand this important program to include Malaysia and the Philippines. Can you comment on the value of direct engagement with our overseas partners to help build their cyber skills?
I can, not only cyber skills, but any of the military skills. We have excellent military-to-military relations with so many countries. If you look at, for example, the contact group in Europe that the Secretary's organized, 54 countries show up for that to support Ukraine. And obviously there's only 30 in NATO, so many countries from around the world. In Asia, it's particularly important, I think, given the dynamic nature of the geostrategic environment in Asia. So the more countries, excuse me, the more countries that we have with us, whether it's cyber or anything else, is critically important. In the world of cyber, though, we know that cyber and space are two domains now of armed conflict, including the traditional ones of land, sea, and air. So as we modernize the force and move into cyber and space, those two domains are going to be fundamental to success in any kind of conflict. So working with our allies and partners in the region and developing their capabilities along with ours, I think will go a long way to deterrence, and if necessary, if deterrence fails and it's necessary, then it'll go a long way to prevailing in the armed conflict.
Thank you, and thank you for your remarkable career of service to this nation and also that of your wife. She not only directly saved lives herself in a very hands-on way, quite literally, but also her work on mental health for our troops is continuing to pay off dividends. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Duckworth. Senator Budd, please.